This was interesting. You said there was something that was more important than trafficking of illicit drugs, truckloads of illegal cigarettes, guns. There was something more important to the FBI than all those things that would take precedence over all those things. What was that? You recall what you said in your book? What that was? Something that'll make y'all overlook the guns, overlook the drugs, overlook the illegal truckloads of illegal cigarettes.
I can't think of it.
The Chinese connect.
Oh, the Chinese case. Yes. Yeah. You're talking about Royal Charm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was another interesting case. That Royal Charm. You talk about the counterfeit $100 bills.
Counterfeit $100 bills.
Which were called super notes, which when we got a sample of it, we looked at this. It looked just like a $100 bill. I'm looking for the threads. I got it. I'm looking for this. The guy goes, they're made from the same machines, using the same paper, using the same ink. I said, that would destroy the economy, these super notes. So we asked them, we wanted exclusivity. We went to the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, had this huge suite, right? We met with one of the guys from China, and we said, look, we'll deal with this. We'll want 30 cents on the dollar, but we're bringing it in. You can't bring it anywhere else because, otherwise we're going to get busted on this. They gave us exclusivity, and we took it, the first time we got it as a sample, took it to our Secret Service guy that worked in the office, said, yeah, that's real. Well, yeah, we had to send it to the lab in New York, in headquarters, and the FBI came back that it was counterfeit. It was that good. I don't know how they were able to do it, because from looking at it, look and felt like a $100 bill. And
you said you even tried it with the dealers in Las Vegas. When those guys are real professionals with the paper.
We did it in Atlantic City. We tried the $100.
Atlantic City.
Yeah. And they bought.
They didn't catch it.
No. Unbelievable how good that was. And the super notes really, and it was made, that whole case was amazing because they would tell me, these Asian organized crime guys, they said, whatever you want to duplicate, just bring it to us. We'll do it. I said, what do you mean? He says, you want to duplicate a Rolls-Royce? Boom, bring me a Rolls-Royce. We'll have two for you when I see you. Have yours original and the one we're going to cop. They said, we got Callaway golf. I don't play golf. But golf equipment, shoes, bags, and they come in different layers. So sometimes you see a lot of people with that Yves Saint Laurent, bag, looks fake. Well, they come separate layers. The more you pay, the more realistic, because they say some of these factories are the same factories that make them, and they use the thread. So it's destroying our. And this is how long now? We're talking about. That case was 2002. Also, counterfeit drugs, the Viagra. Remember the Viagra story?
Yeah.
The guy's taking Viagra. So I said to him, was that the counterfeit you gave us? He goes, no, what are you, crazy? It's the real one. Even they don't do it. The same with their cigarettes. I said, sometimes I said, what are you smoking, the counterfeit? He goes, I ain't smoking that. He would get legitimate, but yet he's pushing that on us. And that's when I felt a little on the helping them out, facilitating. When how much stuff can we bring in and what's the objective? So we originally, then we grew from cigarettes, we grew to counterfeit hundreds. We were going to move to dope, where they said they could offer, what do you call those, diplomatic bags to bring it in. And then last was weapons. We were talking to the guy, myself and the other undercover. His name is Lou. He goes, well, can we get some weapons so I can trade them to the FALN? We told them in Colombia. He goes, what do you want? I says, what do you mean, what do you want? He says, I'll send you a catalog. They shipped us a catalog with any kind of gun we wanted to buy. And when we wanted to put in an order, at that time, there was this explosion in Spain where I think there was a train explosion. So it was a terrorist act. And therefore, everything became very hard. And then for some decision, the Bureau always makes to terminate the case. And we terminated the case by claiming to have a wedding where we brought the guys in, and Lou, who was the main undercover, he was marrying this female agent, and I was the best man. And we brought them all in, and we drove them in their tuxedos and all to the FBI office and locked them up.
So these are the people who were involved with this international group, the China group that was offering counterfeit everything, including money and cars. And the FBI abruptly decided that they would close the case. And so to just get everybody in that you guys had already gotten compromised, they just pretended like these two other agents were getting married. And all these criminals came. They all came to attend this wedding.
Right. But we weren't compromised. They decided to terminate the case. So we figured, how do we get everybody together to arrest it? Because you want to terminate the case. You don't want to continue it. So we didn't want to have bodies in China, Thailand, whatever. So we told them about a wedding, send them an actual wedding invitation. And they came to pay their respect to the wedding. And when they came is when we locked them up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the wedding was great because they bought 2 gifts. They bought 2 Rolex President watches, one for her and one for him. But I believe it was counterfeit. But they told me, no, it's real. This is how good their stuff is. I mean, as far as intellectual property, they are amazing. They just will create. I mean, like I said, the Viagra, the super notes, it's amazing. And we haven't been able to stop it. It's something that continues to this day.
Wow. There was one part in that section where you said, if you stand still next to these guys long enough, they'll make 6 copies of you. They're really fucking good.
They are that good. They'll make whatever. This board right here, this studio, boom, they'll do it.
That's
and they
crazy.
said they used to shut down the town and they worked on whatever they had to work. And then that the generals control. And the reason they send 40-foot trailers, because it's the same price as if you send 20-foot. So a 20-footer will cost you the same. So everybody sent 40. And these factories will go to work, ship all of that to the West Coast. We had another case with another undercover who did a great job, Bob Hamer. He was in California, and he was working similar to us, and we got double-crossed because he got super notes too. And then he took his case down, and we took ours. We were Royal Charm, and his was, it escapes me, but he had another great case that they worked together. So this goes on in our country every day, and the role that we were playing, we were mobsters who had a connection at the port in Elizabeth. So all we told them is, send in the trailer, give us the numbers, give us where everything is, and we'll tell our dirty guy in custom to put the container aside, and then you come up here and get it. And they would come in, and there'll be a whole container full of cigarettes. They made a lot of money in that cigarette, a lot of money.
Damn. So, like, when you were doing what you were doing in terms of all these undercover operations, first of all, how many other agents were there that were actively playing different people undercover in different cases simultaneously?
There was none. I was at the agents all work one case, and that's it. You see it through, whatever. Now, the reason why I did so many is because usually I might do a case for an agent, and I was older. I was a senior time in the bureau. So I would do a good job. Somebody would say, hey, I need an undercover. Boom, I got a guy for you. So I call up, they call me up. Sure enough, they say, you want to do it? It's only like 1 or 2, 3 meetings, which never turned out that way. It turned out into having more meetings, like long meetings, because the case grew. And then we started concealing it from the Bureau, because the Bureau would say I was being spread too thin. Now, thin and me don't go together. So anyway, what happened was we would tell them, no, we're going to maybe do 1 meeting and that's it. And then you go back to the Bureau and say, listen, this guy is deep in it. They love him. We need him. Let it go on. So I was working the dirty cops in Boston. I was working the dirty cops in Hollywood, Florida. I was working dope cases in New York because I still worked that. I was working the mob case. And then I had a political corruption case that I was working in Atlantic City. And then, of course, the Asian royal charm case. And these things were all fluid, but the roles were good because the role I was playing would be is I would meet with the Asians and they would come back like in a month. Now, during that time, I was working the mob and the mob has accountability. So I would tell the old man, I would say, listen, Greg, I got to go down to Atlantic City because I'm looking for a score. Oh, yeah, a score. Go ahead. So every once in a while, I come back, I give him 3 Gs. You know, we create this image that I was making scores. So then he goes, how did it go, Jackie boy? I said, oh, I went, or I'm going down to Florida. What did you get? Yeah, bring me some oranges and bring me some watches. Boom, I would get those watches that we had. The bureau, bring him a toy. He was happy because he saw me as an earner. Now, he said, man, this guy is pretty enterprising. I mean, he's out there hustling. He's not dead weight. So I would kind of use all of that cases for my advancement. So, and of course, when the case ended, there was no publicity of me or whatever. We went on, and I would continue with Greg. There's always that fear that they commingling cases could compromise them. But in my case, it was not, especially with the dirty cops. I mean, the Boston cops were super bad. I mean, that was the largest Boston case we took. I mean, these guys were like from training places. I mean, really hardcore. The guy wanted me to...
Training Day, yeah.
Yeah, remember Training Day? That was just like them.
Yeah.
Then the other, the one here in Hollywood, wanted to be a gangster himself. He would pick me up. This is a great story with the way I was betrayed by the police chief. You remember that, right? What happened was I'm working the Hollywood case. Me and this other undercover, great guy, his name is Dino. We're working this case. Every time we went to Hollywood, we call him up. He'd pick us up. He'd take us to these beautiful hotels. So I'm calling him to tell him I'm coming down. I don't get an answer, right? So I'm going, what's going on? So I speak to the boss, and I say, this guy's not calling me back. He said, we may have a problem. I said, what's the problem? Well, the boss here in Miami, the special agent in charge, said because we work in partnership, we need to inform the Hollywood Police Department that we got you as an undercover in there with Dino. I said, you can't do that. I mean, the chief is very tight with this cop. That's suicide. You're going to terminate the case. He goes, no. We actually had a meeting with him. The guy gave us his word. No one besides him and his boss. Inner circle, nobody knows anything. Well, sure enough, we find out that the guys that we were working with lined up at their retirement office to retire. It seemed that the chief and his office told a couple of cops that we were in there. And they got wind of it, and they actually went and retired so they could keep their benefits. So they wound up doing, I think, 17 years or 12 years. And it was a shame because what they were doing for us, they were guarding dope shipments. And they also guarded stolen merchandise. So the chief, I went back and say, what you're told to say something to keep it in-house to yourself, and you tell everybody that the FBI is in your house. Now, he probably did it to protect probably so many other cops, because we had all these other cops lined up to snare, but they got away. We couldn't.
Holy shit.
We couldn't do it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it was very disappointing that that happened here in Hollywood, and so I stay away from Hollywood because it's very disappointing that the chief is gone though. So I don't know where he's doing, but he certainly has a big mouth, and he almost got me. He almost got me killed.
Jeez. What was it like coming into your Mafia undercover situation in the aftermath of the Donnie Brasco situation and investigation?
Yeah, good question. I get asked that sometimes. And Donnie Brasco was such a long time ago, 1981. And he was like a trailblazer when the thought of having undercover never existed with the mob. So with me, it was always that, the mob learns from their mistakes. They have these high-priced lawyers who go through all of these documents and see how we operate, and then they build the ways to go around it. So, of course, in my situation was that, they knew that I was out there, that possibly I could have been another Donnie Brasco, but I guess my size and the way I acted, they didn't feel that. So Joe, being a trailblazer, he was with some people back then, and he was able to do a great job. But now all the other undercovers got to go through scrutiny because of that. And luckily for me, I was able to pass the scrutiny.
Right. You also stated that, this is in your book, quote, John Gotti single-handedly destroyed the Mafia in his day by insisting they all show up at the Raven Night social club once a week to kiss him. He took something that was supposed to be private and made it public, end quote. Do you attribute Gotti Sr.'s era to the deterioration of the code of silence within the Mafia?
Yeah, that was great for us. The FBI, the fact that he would call all his captains who ran these crews to come and kiss the ring and tell them story, maybe bring him envelopes, whatever the case may be. We knew about that. So, of course, the FBI was all over that. So we identified all of that. See, it's a secret criminal society, that's bent on committing crimes, terrorizing, and causing mayhem. That's what the mob is. And this secret society, he's exposing it. He loved that celebrity gangster lifestyle. And let me tell you something, he was good for that. He was so opposite Paul Castellano. I mean, John dressed impeccably. He looked impeccable. He thought to himself like, hey, you guess what? I said, they know we're gangsters, so who are we fooling? Let's do it. But you see, gangsters are not supposed to be making headlines. They're supposed to be making money. So here he is being exposed to that. Other guys are exposed to. So he really, in my opinion, hurt the mob a long way. But also at the same time, he brought the mob to stardom. I mean, people loved that guy. He used to go to Regine's, I heard, and he was like people spying on bottles of Dom Perignon, Cristal, because he was a celebrity, such a celebrity gangster. He was a tough guy. Don't get me wrong, John was a tough guy. But again, John has to understand it's a secret criminal society. Right. You're not supposed to be appearing on film and camera, etc.
Yeah, John was something else.
Yeah.
I met him once at 111 Center Street. Yeah, I was coming out. I was going in, he was coming out. We both had court dates in there. And yeah, he was a very charismatic dude. I used to go to his restaurant too all the time. I used to take my kids there. RSVP.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they had one of the best drink selections, best wines, almanacs, cognacs. Oh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this spot a lot.
He was a likable guy,
Yeah,
a
no
killer
doubt.
just the same. And, and one thing about him that he stressed, you never take a plea. And if you took a plea, he would berate you. Like when I was working, it was Arnold Scuteri, the boss. The underboss was Tony McGalley. Tony McGalley in the past took a plea, and it angered John Gotti for doing it. And that's why Greg DePalma would always say, I'm going to trial. I don't matter. Who knows if I could beat it? But you stand there. And the reason for that is if you take a plea, there's a thing called allocution, where you have to stand there and admit that you are a member of organized crime. And that violates omerta, because omerta is a secret criminal society. You can't say, I'm a member of the Gambino crime family. So that's one of the reasons why John was Cosa Nostra, but John loved that limelight. And but his attitude was, hey, they know who we are, who we're trying to kid.
That's true. I get it. I had a couple of cousins who had that attitude as well. But I was like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not selling. I'm not sharing, showing nothing. I'm going to live. That's what I'm going to do.
That's, yeah.
The swapping of team crew members from one crew to another. Until I read your book, I had never heard of that. So guys who were formerly Lucchese could be Gambino or or anything. Go to any other family. Like what?
Yeah, that's interesting. What happens is once you go on record, like I said, then you get straightened out. Craig De Palma, I'll give you an example. He got straightened out with the Cleveland mob, but he was assigned to New York. Robert Vaccaro might have been straightened out with the Lucchese's because he was with the Lucchese's and he transferred over. But what happens is you got to ask permission. You can't just pack up your bags and, put the flag on the Gambino. All of that is negotiated by bosses and say, okay, you can have him if you want. Maybe he's got to pay something. I don't really know the mechanics, but some of them have, not all of them, have gone from one family to the other, and find their home and are accepted in their home. Genovese, I think, did that on a couple of guys, and it's just something that happens. Not frequent, but it does happen. You could get straightened out because what it is there's certain numbers of mobsters, made men, allowed per family. It's just something that goes back to Lucky Luciano. So let's say the Gambinos, I think it's, I want to say maybe the number 250 is in my mind. I don't know why. But anyway, let's say whatever number of guys in the Gambinos, one guy dies, and you want to make, let's say, me. One guy dies. I then go on, they send a list and say, Jack Falcone, and they'll say replacing Benny Bag of Donuts, 1980, that died. Okay, now they take that list and they pass it around to all the bosses. And that way the boss could say, hey, I know this Jack Falcone, he's with me. What are you talking about? Or maybe he'll give a clearance, or maybe he says, the guy's no good. The guy's a rat, or the guy this. So you nix it. But if there's no problem, you are replacing those that have died. Then if there's no problem, then of course the ceremony is where it happens, where you go through the rituals and you get made into that family. So it is a series of things that they have. But the Gambinos and the Genovese are the largest of the family. The other ones, I think they only have like 50 guys, like the Colombos. The Bonanos are very small. The Caseys are a little larger. So every family does have a number set that they can't exceed. However, come Christmas time, they always throw in one or two guys into the family to be made. Did you know about the list? Because the list, they found that list with John Gotti Jr.'s and the money when they did a search warrant, and they had a list of names that were on there. So John Gotti made a huge mistake of keeping, John Gotti Jr., of keeping that list.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The Gottis like to live. They like to live on the edge for sure. On the edge of the edge. How did the FBI mistake you for a member of the Mexican Mafia?
Oh, that was interesting. My good friend was worked in headquarters. He ultimately became a big boss. His name is Charlie Cunningham. And he would constantly go to these DEA meetings, and I guess that's what they do in Washington, D.C., they go to meetings. And they're presenting a case about the Mexican cartel, who the money launderers are, their faces, some of them just have contact numbers. And sure enough, he looks up and he goes, looks at the number, he goes, that's Jack's number, because he's a good friend of mine. She says, you got an FBI undercover guy in there. Who made this list up? And they couldn't believe it. They thought that actually I was this doper guy based on informant information. Because you got to realize that everything comes from informant. So the informants are out there everywhere watching you, I guess, because they know they want to get paid, some of them. So somebody gave them the number of me and probably got paid well, that I was this big, huge money launderer in New York. Well, I guess I was, but with the help of the FBI.
Right.